From high school American history, we know James Madison was the fourth president of the United States. Something perhaps lesser known is that Madison owned about 100 slaves on his plantation, Montpelier, in Northern Virginia. When he fell on hard times, he sold 16 of those slaves to a wealthy cousin who happened to be a plantation owner in Louisiana. Now, during Black History Month, new research is uncovering generations of their descendants. This antebellum home and the land surrounding it holds secrets. It's located on Bayou Latinash, near the community of Bachelor in Pointe Coupee Parish.
In 1834, James Madison sold 16 of his slaves to his distant cousin, William Taylor.
Genealogist and historian Zann Nelson is working to uncover some of those secrets.
William Taylor at that time had 2 plantations in Louisiana.
The William Taylor home, then known as the Briars, is one of those 2 plantations. But information about those 16 enslaved sold here from Virginia is almost non-existent. Nelson calls them the Louisiana 16.
We knew the name of one of the enslaved, a first name. Her name was Betty. She was mentioned in a letter from William Taylor to Madison.
But one name.
Yeah, that's what we had.
And just a first name.
Yes.
Also.
No ages, no genders, no other data.
Oh, we're standing here going, ooh, tell us
you're
about it.
learning,
But I
right?
think that's part of the story, is that, you all, through some of the work I've done and connecting with work that you all have done, we're all coming together and learning more about each other.
Les Ann and Drew Grzaffi now own the Taylor Plantation. Nelson believes it's where ancestors of Reverend Fagin Davis Jr. were once enslaved. Davis pastors this small church down the road.
We always wondered why my great-grandfather left New Orleans, where he was trained in the ministry in the Catholic Church, to come back here. We couldn't figure out why.
Reverend Davis's great-grandfather, Ed Ward Davis, founded the church in 1890.
This is the bill of sale for this property here at Little Zion.
Edward Davis is buried alongside his wife in a small cemetery next to the church. Reverend Davis had always known this, but he never knew what came before him until last year. It just so happens clues to that connection came when his cousin heard a podcast that featured Nelson and her research.
We were talking about some of these ancestors that I did find here, and particularly a woman by the name of Jenny Cook and her twin daughters, Lucy and Lucinda Cook, who we have record of their birth and their baptism. We got a call in during that show from a gentleman in New Orleans, and it's a live show, and he said, "You're talking about my ancestors."
Nelson says Jenny Cook was not one of the 16, but was a housemaid to William Taylor's wife. She believes Cook and her daughter Lucinda were the grandmother and mother of Edward Davis. How is it to learn about the past of your family that brings you to the present and maybe ties up loose ends that you didn't know about before?
Every family has their own history, and when we look at what Zann is doing and what we already knew, this history brings to light how our people, and my family in particular, persevere. The man was astonishing in this community, and that shows you how no matter what you go up with or what you dealt with, if you're sincere and if you persevere, you can accomplish a lot. And I think he was able to do that, and his descendants are really blessed because of that.
Nelson's blog, historyinvestigator.net, is where she chronicles her journey. She explains how networking, speaking at churches, and digging through records can help reveal some answers. She read a diary kept by William Taylor and says it had a wealth of information.
Then you have to get out and you walk. You walk and find cemeteries. You walk and understand communities and their relationships physically to the plantations. So it's all part of the puzzle. There's a connection with the Taylor Plantation and this church. I feel certain when we start looking at title searches and looking at when they bought this land, that it had been previously part of the Taylor Plantation.
What's important about bringing the past to the present, and what does it do for these families?
Moving from Virginia to Louisiana was like going to the moon. There's no thought of ever getting back, not in 1834. They were leaving behind family.
Yeah.
Parents, grandparents, younger siblings, older siblings.
Torn from family.
Yes.
I don't think there's any ethnic group in the United States of America, maybe anywhere in the world, that can go from being the most brutal form of slavery, endure it, persevere, and the generations after them were able to survive and prosper in the same nation. Now we can reach out and maybe go from there to reach out beyond Edward Davis and find out where our family and our relatives and our heritage lead us to.
Zann Nelson continues to meet with other families connected to the Louisiana 16. She has spent this week in New Roads, has been checking on historical records and networking with the community. We will keep you up to date on what she learns, and you can too. Her blog is at historyinvestigator.net. Maybe you know something that continue to help her connect the dots.